Good afternoon and welcome to Carlam Cymru for session number 3 for mathematics. This afternoon the session will be run by Mrs. Alexa Jones from Gowden Comprehensive School. The session will last 45 minutes where the teacher will go through the relevant subject content. If you have any questions, please use the question and answer section and we will endeavour to answer your questions during the session. This session will be recorded with the recording and any resources uploaded to the e-sgol website in the Carlam Cymru area. Thank you.
Hello, so today's lesson we are going to be having a look at volume. You will need a calculator for the lesson today. So to start off with, we're going to have a quick reminder about area. And we're going to find the area of these shapes. So first of all, we have a rectangle and then we have a triangle. So if you'd like to pause the tape at any point, if you need a bit longer to think about something, if you pause the tape and then you can have a look at it and then you can start again. So have a quick think about those and then we will go over finding the area of both of these shapes. Okay, so if you haven't had enough time, just pause and think about it and then start again when you're ready. So for this first shape, the rectangle, to find the area, the space inside, we are going to multiply the two sides together. So we're going to multiply 6 by 3 and that is going to give us 18. And the units on this, it's area, and both of these are in centimetres, so the units are centimetres squared, because we're working in area. Sorry, my pen isn't working very well. Now, the second shape that we've got here, we've got a triangle. And with a triangle, people often forget and just multiply the two sides together in exactly the same way as they would for a rectangle. But if you think about this triangle, if I were to turn it into a rectangle like this, well, this would be 8 multiplied by 4. So the triangle is only taking up half the space of the rectangle, and that reminds us that the formula for finding the area of a triangle is a half multiplied by the base multiplied by the height. So on this triangle, we're going to do a half multiplied by 4 multiplied by 8, and 4 eighths are 32 and a half of that is 16. So you can either do a half of 4 is 2 and then 2 multiplied by 8 is 16, or alternatively you can multiply your 4 and your 8 together to give you 32 and then you can divide it by 2. So this is 16, and again we're working in centimetres and its area, so that's centimetres squared. So today we're going to be looking at volume, and you were given this on the exam paper, and it says the volume of a prism is equal to the area of a cross section, and that's this part here, multiplied by the length. And a prism has the same cross section all the way back. So this shape, if you cut it anywhere along its length at right angles to this cross section, it would have the same shape. And we're going to look at a few different prisms today. So the first one that we're going to look at is we're going to have a look at the volume of a cuboid. Now, in order to find the volume of a cuboid, we're talking about the space that is inside this cuboid. And in order to work that out, well, it told us that to find the volume of a prism, we had to find the area of a face and multiply it by how far the prism went back. So on this one, I can find the area of this face here at the front, where this side is 5, and this side here, this is 3 centimetres because it's the same height as this 3 back here. So this face here is 5 multiplied by 3, which is 15. And then I would multiply that by how far this went back, which is 4. So I would say 15 multiplied by 4, and that gives me 60. And the units on this are centimetres cubed because it's volume. And some people remember this as you just multiply the 3 dimensions together. So some people will remember this as just being 4 multiplied by 5, 5 multiplied by 4, multiplied by 3. So 5 4s are 20, multiplied by 3, and that also gives you that 60 centimetres cubed. Now, sometimes we have to work backwards. So in this case, it says the volume of this cuboid is 60 centimetres cubed. Find the length of the side marked Y. So this time I've been given my volume and I've got to find a missing side. So with this one, I'm going to think to myself, well, if I multiplied these 3 dimensions together, the answer would be 60. So I'm just going to write that down. So 5 multiplied by 4 multiplied by Y would give me 60. 5 4s are 20. So if I multiplied 20 by Y, I would get to 60. And then I say, okay, so if 20 multiplied by Y is 60, then if I divide by this 20, I'm going to get to Y. So Y is 60 divided by 20, which means that that Y is 3 centimetres. And some of you will have been able to see that straight away from this line, just by looking at it and saying, well, 20 multiplied by what gives me 60? That Y must be 3. But it's not always nice numbers like this. So you need to be able to divide in order to find it if it's a more difficult number. Let's have a look at the next question. So this is an exam question, and this has come from a numeracy exam. It says, Dennis plans to build a large toy box with a lid. A sketch of the toy box is below. It is in the shape of a cuboid. What is the volume of the toy box? State the units of your answer. So this is a fairly straightforward question. And with this one, all we would have to do is multiply our 3 dimensions together. So for this one, all we would have to do is to multiply our 100 by our 50 by our 60. And if we multiply those together, we will get to 300,000 centimetres cubed. And it did say down here, state the units of your answer. And you've always got to watch for that, because if it asks you a question like that on an exam paper, it means they're going to give you a mark for it. Now, of course, I didn't have to do this in centimetres. What I could have done was change it all into metres. And if I changed it all into metres, then this would have been 1 metre. This would have been 0.5 metres. And this would have been 0.6 metres. So I could have done this as being 1 multiplied by 0.5 multiplied by 0.6. And if I multiply all of those together, that gives me 0.3 metres cubed. And the interesting thing here is that you have to remember that although 100 centimetres is a metre, 100 centimetres cubed is not 1 metre cubed. So that's something that we've got to be careful of, and we'll have a look a little bit more at that later on. So this is the next question. It says water is poured into an empty rectangular tank of length 15 centimetres, width 10 centimetres and height 12 centimetres until the tank is full. Calculate the volume in litres of the water in the tank. So this one now is a little bit different. It wants the volume in litres. So the thing that we need to remember here is that 1 litre is equal to 1,000 centimetres cubed. So I'm going to start off by working this out, the volume of this tank in my centimetres cubed. And then once I've done that, I will turn it into litres so that I'm answering the question. So for this one, we just multiply 15 by 10 by 12. And that gives us 1,800 centimetres cubed. Now, looking at this, you can see that this is more than a litre. A litre is 1,000. And you can see that it is less than 2 litres, because 2 litres would be 2,000. So this is in between 1 litre and 2 litres. And the way that I would do this is I would divide the 1,800 by the 1,000, because there's 1,000 centimetres cubed in every litre. And that will give me the answer of 1.8. So the answer to this question, the final answer to the question, is that we've actually got 1.8 litres in this tank. Okay, so this is another exam question, and it says a cuboid has a volume of 97.6 centimetres cubed. The length of the cuboid is 6.1 and its width is 5 centimetres. Calculate the height of the cuboid. Now I'm just going to give you a minute to see if you can remember how to do this one. So have a quick go at this one, and I'll give you about 30 seconds and then I'll go over the solution. Okay, so I'm going to go over this one now. If you haven't had enough time, if you just pause the tape and then you can take the time that you need. So with this one, I don't know all the dimensions here, so I'm going to call this dimension here H for height, which is what I'm trying to find. I have to find the height of this cuboid. And I know that if I multiply these three things together, 6.1 multiplied by 5 multiplied by that H, that will give me the volume. And I've been told that that is 97.6. Now, in order to find out what this H is, I'm going to start by multiplying my 6.1 by 5. And if you multiply that, you get 30.5 multiplied by H is equal to this 97.6. Now, to get H on its own, you have to divide by 30.5. So I'm going to do 97.6 divided by 30.5. And that one, when I put that into my calculator, comes out as being 3.2 centimetres. Okay, next question. So here it says, cube A and cuboid B are shown below. Express the volume of B as a percentage of the volume of A. You must show all your working. So this is a slightly different question where they're using volume, but we've also got percentage increase in here as well. So what we're going to do with this is we're going to start by finding the volume of each of these. So in order to find A, we are going to multiply our 3 dimensions together. So that is 5 multiplied by 5 multiplied by 5 again. So that gives us 125, and that's going to be centimetres cubed. And then I'm going to do the same for B. So with B, the volume of that is 4 multiplied by 4 multiplied by 5, which is 80 centimetres cubed. Then it says, express the volume of B as a percentage of the volume of A. Well, the easiest way to express it as a percentage is to start by writing it as a fraction. So this is 80 125ths. So it's 80 125ths. And then to turn that into a percentage, we multiply by 100. And if I pop that into my calculator, I get 64%. And they will often mix a question. So you may well have something whereby you've got a question about volume with something else in the same question. So the next one we're going to have a look at is we're going to have a look at a triangular prism. So with a triangular prism, we've got this front face here, which is a triangle, and then we have got this 10 centimetres here where the triangular prism goes back. And we've got to find the volume of this. So if we remember what was written on the exam paper, we had to find the area of the face, and then we've got to multiply that by the length. So in this case, my face here is a triangle. So this is going to be a half multiplied by the base multiplied by the height. So the area of the triangle here is going to be half multiplied by 6 multiplied by 5. And you can either put that into your calculator as it is, or you can say, well, I'm just going to do 6 5s are 30, and it's half of that. So that's going to be 15, and that would be centimetres squared because it's the area of the face. So in order to find the volume of this, we are going to do the area of the triangle, which we've worked out as being 15, and we're going to multiply that by how far this prism goes back, which is 10. So this one is going to be 150 centimetres cubed. Let's have a look at the next one. So this one says, the volume of this triangular prism is 150 centimetres cubed. Find the length of the side marked Y. Okay, so we know that for our volume, it's going to be the area of the triangle multiplied by the length. So let's fill in what we already know. We know that the volume is 150, and that is the area of the triangle. So that's going to give us the area of our triangle multiplied by, and our length in this case is 10. So from looking at this, I can work out the area of the triangle. And in order to do that, I'm just going to divide by 10. So I say 150 divided by 10 is going to give me the area of my triangle. So I now know that that area of my triangle is going to be 150 divided by 10 is 15. Now I've got to work out what this missing length here is. So I'm going to start by writing down the area of a triangle formula. So I'm going to write down that the area of the triangle is a half multiplied by the base multiplied by the height. So I know, so my area is half times by the base times by the height. Well, I know that that area now is 15. And half multiplied by, and I know that this y here is my base, so that's y, and my height is 5. So now I should be able to sort this out. So I've got 15 is equal to, and then I've got half of 5 is 2.5. So 15 is equal to 2.5 multiplied by y. I've just multiplied the half here by the 5 here, and a half of 5 is 2.5. Now to get the y on its own, I divide by 2.5. So I do 15 divided by 2.5 is equal to y. And 15 divided by 2.5 is 6. So that missing side there is going to be 6, and its length, so it's going to be 6 centimetres. Okay, so this is an exam question for you on the volume of a triangular prism. And with this, it says calculate the volume of the triangular prism and give the units of your answer. And I want you to have a look at this one, and I'm going to give you about 30 seconds to see if you can work out what to do. And remember, you need to find the area of the triangle and then multiply it by how far the prism goes back, by the length of the prism. And there may be more information on this picture than you actually need. So you don't need all the numbers that are there. You've got to think about which numbers you're going to need. So I'm going to give you about 30 seconds, and then we will have a look at this one. Okay, so if you haven't had enough time, please pause the presentation and then you'll have time to have a look at it. So with this one, let me just pick up my pen again. There we go. With this one, what we're trying to work out is we need to do the area of the triangle, and then we've got to multiply it by the length. So the triangle is going to be a half multiplied by the base multiplied by the height, and then we've got to multiply that by the length of the prism. Well, the base of this triangle is 40, and the height of the triangle is here, it is 30, and then the length of the triangle, length of the prism is 60. It's this number here. So we didn't actually need this 50 number at all. That one was just an extra number that was put in there. So in order to work this one out, all I need to do is to pop those into my calculator. And if I pop those into my calculator, I get, let's have a look, I am going to get, this part works out as 600, and it's 600 multiplied by 60. So that gives me 36,000. And that would be in centimetres cubed. And again, going back to the question, it says give the units of your answer. So that means I do need to state the units because there will be a mark for it. I've got another one of these for us to have a look at now. It says, Kingham Inc. is a company that makes cardboard boxes. One of their boxes in the shape of a triangular prism is shown below. Calculate the volume of the box in centimetres cubed. Then it says, is the volume of the box greater or less than 3 litres? And it wants me to state by how much it is greater or less than 3 litres, giving your answer in centimetres cubed. So again, with this one, I'm going to have to remember that 1,000 centimetres cubed is equal to 1 litre. So I've got to calculate the volume of the box in centimetres cubed. And again, I've been given too much information on this one because I am going to need to do the area of the triangle multiplied by and then the length of the prism. But what I've been given here is I've been given my base of my triangle, so a half times by the base times by the height multiplied by the length. And the base of the triangle is 8, so I can write that in, and the height of the triangle is 6. But here I have been given up here the length of my prism as being 1.3 meters. Now you can't work in mixed units, so I'm going to have to change that into centimeters. And I know that 1 meter is equal to 100 centimeters. So 1.3 meters must be 130 centimeters. And I have to change this because you can't multiply centimeters by meters. You've got to stick with consistent units. So now I'm in a position to put this into my calculator. And the first part of this, a half multiplied by 8 multiplied by 6 is 24. So I've got to do 24 multiplied by 130. And if I put that into my calculator, I get 3,120 centimetres cubed. So I've answered the first part of this question. And the first part of this question was calculate the volume of the box in centimetres cubed. So I've done that part. Then it says, is the volume of the box greater or less than 3 litres? Well, if 1 litre is equal to 1,000 centimetres cubed, that means that 3 litres is 3 times as much. So that is going to be 3,000 centimetres cubed. And I can see that this is greater than that. There's more than 3,000 centimetres cubed here. So the answer to this is it is greater than 3 litres. So I've answered this part, and then it says state by how much it is greater or less than 3 litres, giving your answer in centimetres cubed. So I'm going to do 3,120 subtract 3000, which leaves me with 120 centimetres cubed. So the answer to this is that it is greater by 120 centimetres cubed. So the next thing that we're going to have a look at now is we're going to have a look at finding the volume of a cylinder. Now, again, I've got down here what we're given on the exam paper, which is that the volume of a prism is the area of the cross section multiplied by the length, by how far it goes back. And we're going to apply this now to a cylinder. So if you think about a cylinder is going to have a circular face, and we would multiply it by how far it goes back. And with this, in order to find the area of my face, the area of a face is pi r squared, and that is the area of a circle. So the area of a circle is pi r squared, where the r is the radius here, and that radius goes from the middle to the outside of the circle. So this part here is going to be my radius. So my volume of a cylinder is going to be the area of the circle multiplied by the length of the prism. So it's going to be pi r squared multiplied by the length. Let's have a look at a couple of questions. So this is the first one, and it says find the volume. I've got a cylinder, and first of all I have to work out what I've been given. So have I been given a radius, which is from the outside to the middle of a circle, or have I been given a diameter which goes all the way across? And looking at this one, it goes from the outside to the middle. So on this one, I've been given a radius, and my radius is 6. So in order to find the volume of this, I am going to find the area of the circle, and I'm going to multiply it by the length of the prism. And in this case, it's the height. So you can call it the length, or you can call it the height if this cylinder is standing up like this. So my area of a circle is going to be pi r squared multiplied by this height or length. And let's put the numbers that we've got into this. So this is going to be pi multiplied by, when there's no sign here, that means we're doing pi multiplied by the radius squared. And my radius was 6. So this is pi multiplied by 6 squared. And then we've got to multiply it by this 10, which is the height or the length of the prism or the height of the cylinder, however you want to think about it. So when I put this into my calculator will tell me that this one is 360 pi. And if I press the S to D button on my calculator, it will turn that into a decimal for me, and I will get 1130.973355, and that is in centimetres cubed because we're working in volume. And then you've just got to be careful, because sometimes they will ask you to round it to a certain number of decimal places or significant figures. You've just got to go back and make sure that you have actually answered the question that you've been asked. So here's another one. And with this one, on this one, I've been given the diameter. So on this one, I have a diameter of 12 centimetres. So the first thing I have to do with this one is I've got to work out what the radius is, and the radius is half the diameter. So I'm going to do 12 divided by 2 is 6, and I now know that this has a radius of 6 centimetres. So in order to find the volume of this cylinder, I am going to do the area of the circle, and then I'm going to multiply it by the length of the prism or by the height. So the area of the circle is pi times by the radius squared, and then I'm multiplying that by my height. So I get pi multiplied by 6 squared multiplied by my height, which is 10. And this is actually the exact same question as the one that we just did. It's just been given to us in a slightly different way. So this one again is 360 pi 1130.973355 centimetres cubed. And it's always worth writing down the long answer before you round something, because sometimes there'll be a part B and you always want to be using that long answer in the part B. You don't want to be using a rounded answer in part B, because otherwise you can lose accuracy marks in the second part of the question. Okay, so here is an exam question. Now this one actually was on a non-calculator exam, and it says the diagram below shows an empty cylinder with radius 10 and a height of 20, all in centimetres. Using pi is equal to 3.14, calculate the volume of the cylinder and what is the greatest whole number of litres that this cylinder can hold. So I'm going to give you about 30 seconds now to have a think about this one. And then if you need a bit longer, you can pause while I go through how you would answer this one. Okay, let's have a look at this one. And again, if you need more time, then please just pause so that you can have the time that you need. So with this one, let me get my pen back. We've got an empty cylinder and we've got to work out the volume of this cylinder. So the volume is going to be the area of the circle, so the circular base in this case, and then we're going to multiply it by the length of the prism or the height of the cylinder. And the area of a circle is pi multiplied by the radius squared, and then we've got to multiply that by the height. So let's feed in the information that we've got. So I've got pi, and I've actually been told to use that as 3.14. So in a minute, I'm going to change that to 3.14. And then my radius squared, well, my radius is 10, so that's 10 squared, and my height is 20. Okay, so I was told to use the pi was 3.14. So now I'm going to change pi into 3.14 while I multiply this out. 10 squared is 10 times 10, so that is 100. And then I've got to multiply that by 20. Now, I'm going to start by multiplying 3.14 by 100. So if I multiply 3.14 by 10, I'd get 31.4. And if I multiply it by 100, I get 314. So this problem now becomes 314 multiplied by 20. And there are lots of different ways of doing that. The way that I'm going to do it is I'm going to change 20 into 2 multiplied by 10. So I'm going to do 314 multiplied by 2 and then multiply it by 10, because 2 times 10 is the same as multiplying by 20. So multiplying 314 by 2, I'm just going to double it. So that's 628, and then I've still got to multiply it by 10. So I've got 6,280 centimetres cubed as my answer for the volume of the cylinder. And I go back and I check the question. I say, OK, I've done that part of it. Then it says, what is the greatest whole number of litres that this cylinder can hold? Well, I know that 1 litre is equal to 1,000 centimetres cubed. So 6 litres would be 6,000 centimetres cubed. And then 7 litres that would be 7,000 centimetres cubed. And I've got to decide what is the greatest whole number of litres that this cylinder can hold. Well, because it will hold 6,280 centimetres cubed, it will hold 6 litres, but it won't hold 7 litres because I would need 7,000 centimetres cubed of space in order to do that. So the answer to this question, the final answer, is that it will hold 6 whole litres. And that is the answer to that part. Okay, let's have a look at the next part. So for the next part of this, it says, oil is stored in cylindrical drums. Each oil drum has a diameter of 46 centimetres and a height of 125 centimetres. Calculate the volume of an oil drum. Give your answer in litres. So I'm going to let you think about this one for 30 seconds before I go over it. But remember, you've been given a diameter and you are going to need to find the area of the circle. And for that, you're going to need to find a radius. So that's where you're going to start. So I'll give you 30 seconds and then I'll go over this one. Okay, let's have a look at this one. So we have to find the area of the circle. Let me get my pen back again. There it is. So we've been given that the diameter here is 46. So we've got to start by finding a radius. And a radius is half the diameter. So I'm going to do 46 divided by 2. And I've got a radius is going to be 23 centimetres. Now, in order to find the volume of this, it is going to be the area of the circle. And I'm going to multiply that then by the height or the length of the cylinder. So the area of the circle is pi multiplied by the radius squared. And then I've got to multiply that by the height. And let's put in all the information that I've been given. So we worked out that the radius was 23. So it's pi multiplied by 23 squared. And then I have to multiply that by the height, which it tells me here is 125. If I put this into my calculator, 23 squared is 529. So I've got 529 pi, and I've got to multiply that by 125. And putting that into my calculator, I get 66,125 pi. And changing that now into a decimal, because I'm going to have to do that because I need to give my answer in litres. Changing it into a decimal, I get 207,737.8142 centimetres cubed. But it wants the answer in litres and I've got it in centimetres cubed. So I need to now remember that 1 litre is equal to 1,000 centimetres cubed. So I have got to divide this by 1,000 in order to change it into litres. So I'm going to divide that by 1,000. And when I divide that by 1,000, I am getting 207.7378142. I think one of my numbers disappeared there, did it? And again, there we go, that's better. So it's this in litres, and then I'm just going to round that to 207.7 litres as being the answer for this one. Okay, so let's have a look at what things we've done today. I'm just going to change over to a different sheet. So the things that we need to remember from today. The first one is that you're told that the volume of a prism is the area of the cross section multiplied by the length. And this is always on the front page of the exam. And that's on both the calculator and the non-calculator exam. So you're always able to find that. And then you can use that to help you remember how to do the volume of a cuboid, how to do the volume of a triangular prism, and how to do the volume of a cylinder. So if we look at these, well, with the volume of a cuboid, in order to find the volume of a cuboid, I would find the area of this face. So I could find the area of this face, and then I could multiply it here by the length. Alternatively, I could just multiply the three numbers together. So the three numbers being, if I just draw another one out, if I had a cuboid that looked like this, where this was 5 and this was 6 and this was 2. In order to find the volume of the cuboid, you just need to multiply them together. So it's 5 multiplied by 6 multiplied by 2. And the one thing that you've got to watch out for particularly on this is if you're given something in mixed units. So if I was given some of the units as centimetres and some of the units as metres, I would have to change everything into centimetres, or I would have to change everything into metres before I worked out the answer, because you can't mix units when you are doing volume. Now, for the volume of a triangular prism, I need to find the area of the face here. So this is the area of the triangle. And once I've found that, then I need to multiply that by the length that it goes back. So we said that the area of a triangle is a half multiplied by the base, and then we're going to multiply that by the height. So if I had something that looked like this, and I was told that this was 50 centimetres, and I was told that this was 40 centimetres, and I was told that this was 2 metres, then I would have to start by finding the area of the face first of all. So that would be a half multiplied by the base, which is 50, multiplied by the height, which is 40. And then finally, I would have to multiply that by the length. But what I would have to remember here is that I'm not allowed to multiply by 2 metres. I have to change 2 metres into 200 centimetres so that all of my units are consistent. And I would multiply that by 200 in order to find the volume of this triangular prism. And then the last one that we looked at was we had a look at volume of a cylinder. And with the volume of a cylinder, you have to find the area of the circle, and then you multiply that by the height of the cylinder, or by by the length of the cylinder if it's the other way. So if you had the cylinder where it was lying down like this, with this one, you would find the area of this face, and then you would multiply by the length here. And the area of a circle is pi times by the radius squared, and then you would multiply that by the height. And the things to really watch out for with this one is be careful in case they give you a diameter, because if they give you a diameter, if they tell you that all the way across the top there is 4 centimetres, you have to start by finding the radius. And the radius is half the diameter. It only goes from the middle to the outside. It doesn't go all the way across. So on this one, my radius would be 2 centimetres, and I would have to work that out first. And that's the main thing you've got to watch on those questions. Now, next week, we are going to be having a look at probability. So the things we're going to look at next week are calculating probability and things like sample spaces and some tree diagrams. So hopefully today has been useful, and we will see you next week.